What's going on, Trophy Kids? It is the college football episode. This is a good one. We brought on Liddell again. We're talking both playoff games. He's actually going to the UC Alabama game. Then we're breaking down some of the remaining bowl games, a little NFL talk. This is one of our better ones, I think. I hope you enjoy this content. Hope you enjoy the show we put together. Thank you for your continued support. I hope you have a wonderful New Year's Eve and welcome into the new year. And let's go. And Warm Trophy Kids presented by Bad News Media. It is December 30th, the college football playoff episode. We have brought back Liddell. I apologize for those who are watching. You are currently seeing my bedroom because I'm stuck with COVID and it is an absolute disaster right now. But how are we doing today, good sir?
I'm doing well. I've been enjoying the college football bowl games kind of a little bit.
What a disaster that has been so far. I mean,
it's just like you don't know who's playing every night. It's we all know the games like pre-Christmas always suck.
Yeah.
Actually, really just pre-New Year's Eve they always kind of suck, but I'm still watching because that's what we do.
Correct. Absolutely. Have it on when they're not getting canceled for COVID reasons or like these kind of antiquated rules that we have there that aren't adapting with the times and players opting out. I mean, today, perfect example, two games that should have some intrigue, but with guys missing in COVID, you got Iowa State, Clemson, Oregon, Oklahoma, both games that have interest in, but like this point, who knows who's going to end up playing in those games?
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Go
ahead.
I was going to say, for example, with Oregon I can never pronounce the defensive lineman's name. Is he playing?
No, Thibodeau's out. He opted out. So they're their best corner. And they don't have a head coach because Danny Lang is coming over from Georgia and he's not there yet because he's prepping with Georgia. Not that he'd be able to coach in the game anyway, but at least be around the program. And then Oklahoma does have Stoops coaching, though. Stoops will be on the sideline.
Which is awesome.
Yep. I do like that. Caleb Williams is playing, obviously, because he's a freshman. But yeah, I do like that Stoops is coming back into the headset.
That's enough reason for me to watch. I'll be there.
Exactly. What was I going to say in the bowl season? I feel so bad for the people who like try to handicap these games ahead of time too, because it's like literally you have to wait until the day of. I don't know why anybody in the world is trying to give out any advice. We're going to give it about the playoff games here, which is tough because who knows? I would assume they're locked in like airtight bubbles at this point, these teams, but it's tough. It's just a tough way that sports are going. We're seeing in college basketball, our program at Xavier's not having games right now. It's ripping through the sports, unfortunately, which makes it difficult to kind of talk about and handicap or even give a preview of.
I'm very hopeful that within the next few weeks, basically leading up to the NFL playoffs, some of the rules that are being used are really going to adjust because it seems like, the rules were made a year and a half ago and the science isn't really supporting the rules that were there. So hopefully we see some adjustments and we don't have a playoff game where a starting quarterback has to sit out due to COVID or whatever it might be, which is a definite possibility. Hopefully we don't have to live in that world.
I am terrified of what would happen for the college football national championship if COVID, because I think I read some article today that was like, they're cool with forfeiting the game due to COVID. I'm like, unacceptable. Like just push it back a week or whatever. Like we can't have that happen.
Yeah, the SEC will find a way to make sure that does not happen. We hope.
Very true. Very true. I think that's a good leading point. Let's talk about the games. You're actually going to be at the UC Bama game. That is where we'll start. Very jealous of you on that point.
Yep.
The line right now, it opened. Some shops have had it at about 2 scores. It's now kind of everywhere has got it at about 13.5. We'll see what the public does here. Everybody's going to be home Friday for the most part, where the money will come in. But the line's at 13.5. Over-under is 57.5. I'm not going to lie. When I was breaking down this game, and this is a very obvious statement, people are going to be like, yeah, no shit. It's hard to find edges for UC here because, you're going against the SEC. The talent pool is way bigger. On paper, there are just tons and tons of mismatches. But they're a 2-point underdog right now, even though Alabama came out this week like we're the underdog. I know that you had some confidence going into it. There are some matchups that are interesting here. Give me your opening take, at least for this game, before we go diving into each side of the ball here.
I'm hopeful, but not like it's super realistic. I anticipate Cincinnati to lose, which is
That's fair.
okay. I think for Cincinnati, like the goal was to get here. Anything that happens after this is like
Oh,
icing on the cake, really.
gravy.
Um, yeah. So I think most Cincinnati fans are traveling down with like a sense of optimism, but also a little realistic that it's probably not going to happen. That being said, the last time Cincinnati was in this position was like almost 10 years ago to the day, or 9 years ago to the day, something like that. It was the number 3 team in the country, Cincinnati,
Tony Pike
led by
error.
Tony Pike with,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, some throwback names for you. Marty Gilliard, my favorite football team of all time. But they went against a Florida team with the likes of Tim Tebow, Riley Cooper, Aaron Hernandez, Marquise Pouncey, Joe Hayden, Carlos Dunlap. The list goes on and on. Like it's an absolutely absurd team.
Yep.
And not a lot of people remember that was the number 1 team in the country coming off a national title all season. And then they played Bama in the SEC title game, similar to a Georgia this season. And they lost to Bama in the title game. So Cincinnati got stuck with them, got absolutely trounced. So that is definitely in the back of every single Cincinnati fan that I talk to's mind. But the difference this time is that team was led by offense and the defense was horrific. And this time it's kind of the opposite, where it's led by a great
True.
defensive unit, which I think can help keep you in any game. And this offense is decent. They have a potentially first round quarterback. After that, the drop off's pretty heavy, but you got a few NFL players in there. With Jerome Ford's probably late round, maybe a guy that gets picked up after the draft. But Pierce, the wide receiver, will definitely be drafted. Ritter will definitely be drafted. A lineman here or there. So there's some reason to believe this is a good Cincinnati team. Now, when you go up against any SEC team, specifically Alabama, Georgia, yeah, you're going to be in some trouble with like man-to-man matchup. It's tough.
There are some glaring matchups that are rough. When you look at, for example, UC's defensive line versus the Alabama offensive line, they're very undersized. But then, like you said, the defense is strong. Linebacker and back linebackers are good. Defense is the secondary is elite of elite. I mean, that's the best group.
Correct.
All 3 players grade out the highest on the UC team. I mean, hell, you got Kobe Bryant winning the Jim Thorpe Award, best corner in the country, and he's not even the best corner on the team. Now, that's not to downplay Bryant, but like Sauce Gardner is just there, who just nobody throws to, and that's an interesting matchup within the game. I'm assuming he'll be matched up on Jamison Williamson of Alabama. That'll be an interesting matchup. But yeah, it is in the offensive line versus Alabama's defensive line. That's concerned. I think let's first go. I think the weaker side, the bigger glaring mismatch, at least for me, UC's offense versus Alabama's defense. Do you think they can have any form of success here going up against that Alabama defense with what they're bringing? Like you said, the talent, it's good, but can it do really any damage against Alabama's defense?
So going off of Cincinnati playing against quote unquote elite talent type of teams, which is in the past 363 days, is a game against Notre Dame and a game against Georgia. The offense wasn't great in either of those games, but in both games, they had big play capability. In the Georgia game, Jerome Ford, I believe it was in the first quarter, had a 75-yard run. Against Notre Dame, down the stretch, Ritter made a ton of big 20-plus type of throws. Specifically, a go route to Pierce has been Cincinnati's like go-to whenever they need anything, is like, we're just going to throw it up T. Higgins style and hope for the best. And it's been working. So I think those type of chunk plays are there. Those type of home run plays. I'm more worried about like the amount of 3 and outs that are going to occur, because like the 7-8 yard style runs that are available against SMU and UCF and Memphis, those probably won't be available. So yeah, it's definitely a major concern for me, but I think like I'm hoping for like a mid-20s type of performance, and then just hopefully the defense can maybe get a score. So if we get, I don't know, 3 touchdowns, 4 if you're lucky. So looking at upper 20s and then maybe a defensive turnover can push you into the 30s. I think that's the world where Cincinnati could win this game or at least keep it close. But maybe that's dreamland because I can't remember exactly how many points they scored against Georgia last year, but I think it was like maybe lower 20s.
Yeah. And I think, unfortunately, some people, I get it, people will point out, Georgia probably didn't give a shit about that game and whatever. But I think there's a benefit to that game and it may be a false confidence, but mentally, I think it's UC's coming to this game a little bit better prepared because they played that game last year. They saw SEC speed, they saw SEC size, and they said, hey, we hung around it. Even if you buy into the theory that Georgia didn't really give a shit about the game, it's sort of a false confidence where when you show up and you see that maroon or what, I think they're wearing white, Alabama, and I think UC gets their black jerseys, which one edge right there mentally. Look good, feel good, play good. But the maroon is way more intimidating than Alabama whites. But when you look over to the sideline, you see that team. I would have to imagine for most schools, it's kind of like oh shit your pants moment. Like, oh, we actually got to go play them. Sort of like that scene from like Friday Night Lights, the movie where they play Carter High School. It's like, oh damn, these dudes are big and fast.
Different. Yeah.
But they played Georgia and they played them tough and they didn't throw up all over themselves. So there is that false confidence going into this game, I think, of like, you know what? We played an SEC team. We hung in there. They didn't just drum us out of the stadium. And that builds a little confidence. I like that you've mentioned Alex Pierce a couple. I think he's a guy that has not been highlighted a ton because this is a guy who gets up when it comes to contested footballs. This is a man that can go out and make a play and get up there, attack the ball at the high point. I don't think he's been giving enough credit as a weapon. He's great, but every time I listen or read anything, they don't seem to highlight that. I think that's a matchup where UC's got to take advantage. Trey Tucker's been good. I think you kind of hit the head on the nail, though, and these 3 and outs, you're not going to have a lot of success running the ball, I would assume, against this defensive line in Alabama in front 7, who's very big, fast, aggressive. They can sub in a ton of guys. UC's offensive line's been decent. They're a top tier team when you look at like tackles for loss allowed. They're bottom of the barrel there. Like they do a good job, but they haven't played a team like this. It comes down to Desmond Ridder for me, and he's got to play out of the world. My biggest concern, Desmond Ridder does 2 things that are not good. First, his first halves have seemed to be terrible. I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but he seems to kind of,
you're right.
Lights are a little bit too big, a little jittery, and then second half rolls around, he's good. You got to be good in the first half. And second of all, he progressively gets violently worse as the downage gets tougher because on third down versus first and second down, he's bad. I mean, he's got a rating of 99.3. He's absolutely terrible. He's only completed 44% of his passes on third down. First down and second down, he's fantastic. I think that's sort of the key. And I think, if I'm saying this, Nick Saban knows it, though. Being aggressive on first down, throwing the ball, which they've done, using play action on first down is sort of the way you get going. But that's the other concern. You're going up against Bama, who's got a month to prepare for this. Can Ridder kind of have the performance that you need to keep them in this number, do you think?
That's it's really strange because when you think of a school like Cincinnati, the idea of having a first round caliber quarterback is like unheard of. So you would think everybody is in love with him, and this is all respect to Desmond Ridder, but I don't know one Cincinnati fan who like seriously thinks Ridder is like that great. Every single person complains about it because he misses a lot of throws. Like you've said, on third down, he's pretty horrible.
Oh, it's bad when you look at the splits. It gets progressively worse.
It's bad. So it makes you think maybe he's good with, I don't know, in rhythm type of plays, but the longer, deeper ones, he's not as good. I don't know what exactly it is, and I don't really know what NFL scouts look at him and think, oh yeah, that's a late first round type of talent. I mean, I get some of it, but I think if you were to rank like Cincinnati quarterbacks in the last 20 years, most fans would not have Ridder as their favorite quarterback, even though he has set every school record. He easily has the best winning percentage that a Cincinnati quarterback probably will ever have. A lot of that's just being a 4-year starter, but no, the confidence is not super high going into the game. But if he cannot turn the ball over, and like I said, just get one or two big plays that might be enough to keep it close.
Yeah, and I need to make a correction. I said 44% on third down. He's 46.8%. So that extra 2.8% is important.
Yeah, that's
he dropped from a 73% percentage completion on first down to 46 on third. His rating goes from 187 to 99. He's almost 5 yards less average completion on third down compared to first and second down. It's a big drop off. And so I think
major.
Yeah. And you see, to their credit, to the offensive coordinator's credit, when I've watched the games, he sort of recognizes that they do pass a good amount on first down. They do utilize play action a lot on first down. I think the thing that they're going to need to do maybe a little bit more, that's something I don't know if people have really been talking about, is use Ritter's legs more designed, because we've seen teams that give this Alabama defense trouble, the Floridas of the world, A&M of the world, those quarterbacks have been able to get out of the pocket, make a throw, get downfield, rush the ball. I think there's going to have to be some design plays, and Ritter's really going to have to step up, getting flushed out of the pocket and making a big throw, which once again, that's where that Alec Pierce comes into play on a broken play, high ball, jump ball, one-on-one. That could be a mismatch for them because there's not a lot. I don't have a whole lot of confidence on that side of the ball. Flip it, where I think the matchup gets way more interesting, as you alluded to. The UC defense is where you maybe start to find some edges. There's a glaring, I think, mismatch offensive line of Alabama versus the UC defensive line because they're just undersized, which happens. But linebackers and secondary, fantastic for UC. And then on the other side of the ball, you're losing Menchie, which is a huge loss, but we know Alabama's got some depth at wide receiver. You have Bryce Young, Heisman winner, who, opposite of Ritter, gets better as the downage gets tougher, it seems like. Do we think UC can match up well against this Alabama offense and keep them within a respectable range where maybe you can have confidence in betting the 14? I know we're not going to give the pick right now or anything, but do we think they can keep it close, I guess, or make a play here and there?
Sincerely, I think they can. I hope I'm right. I think all of us would have said Georgia is going to shut down Alabama, keep them under at least 30 points. Alabama destroyed that. But I really have confidence in Cincinnati's secondary. Like you said, they have 3 guys who are NFL talent, 2 of which are upper. I mean, one of will be, Sauce Gardner is going to be a first-round pick, maybe top 20 type of pick. So I think there's real confidence on the defensive side of the ball. The run game is really what worries me. I'm not as scared in the passing game, and I know that's ridiculous because you're going against a Heisman candidate, but he will be without his debatably number 1 wide receiver, and he's probably going up against one of the better secondaries he's going to see. And I know that's ridiculous because it's Cincinnati, and Cincinnati's a Group of 5 team, but it's the truth. It's going to be one of the hardest secondaries that he plays against all season. So like I said earlier, keep him 30 or less is my goal. And that really is like A++ if you get a turnover that leads to like an easy score too. So if there's a world where you could keep them under 30 and get a turnover, maybe a pick 6 or a fumble in their own territory, that's the type of game they need to have. And I think that's good enough, at least to keep it close. And then if it comes down to the end, you never know what can happen.
I don't disagree with that at all. I mean, like you said, the secondary, between the 3 guys, Sauce Gardner, Kobe Bryant, and then Brian Cooks, the safety, when that group of 3 is targeted, they're only completing 48% pass completion against those 3. They've got 7 picks to 3 touchdowns. It's a shutdown unit. And for those of you who are like, oh, it's a group of 5, they haven't really played anybody, go rewatch some of those games. These dudes have fantastic technique. They are super athletic. Like, I get that there's a step up. It's going to be harder because you have more guys at wide receiver or more athletic depth wise. And, there's no real down play where, like, when you're playing the SMUs, the Temples of the world, you can take a play off here and there, maybe not go 100% where you're going to have to do that. But these guys are phenomenal. And we've seen Alabama struggle against an Auburn secondary, who I would say this secondary is better than. And that's not a crazy thought. I think if you think that's a crazy thought, you really need to kind of do some homework here. Once again, I think you hit it perfectly. The threat here is the run game. Saban and that coaching staff, he's got more analysts than any program on the face of the planet here are going to understand that their advantage is going to be running the ball here. That sort of helps with keeping it under 30. I have concerns, like I said, against the defensive line, but you've got good edge guys that can get to Bryce Young and make him uncomfortable. And I agree. It's more bend, don't break here. And I do think that this defense has the capabilities, and the matchups are going to be super interesting. I'm very excited for this side of the ball. One thing before we kind of get our last bit out here that I am very concerned about, and this does not bode well for UC. UC has no kicking game whatsoever. It is a weak
horrible
spot. It's tough if you're going to look to bet UC. If you're looking for a shot to bet UC, their kicker is currently kicking under 50%. It's not good. And that could really bite them in the butt because I'm not even going to say win this game, keep it within the 14. You're going to have to get an all-out effort from every unit. And everybody's like, yeah, no shit. But like, there can't be any issues here. You can't even kind of stumble, I think. But, and some people will go, the offensive line for Alabama has been trash all year. They've had a month to get that better. They played better in the Georgia game. Like, I fully expect Alabama to look like Alabama here. I hope UC has also had a month. Let's see what Luke Fickell can do. He had a complete brain dump against Georgia last year. Learn from that.
Yep.
I'm hoping that they come out kind of Boise style here to begin the game and have some fireworks, because I think that's what you're going to need. I think you're going to have to try to punch Alabama in the mouth, give them a haymaker early, and then just lean on your defense. And that's what I'm hoping for here. I don't know if you have anything else on this game, but it's interesting.
No, I think our thoughts are pretty similar. I just, as someone that is paying a decent amount of money to travel, I hope it stays close. I hope we still have a game in the third quarter. And I think it's possible. I do think Cincinnati is a good football team. And we have seen all season, I know we had the Georgia game, which has changed everyone's opinion about Alabama miraculously, but Alabama wouldn't be in this game if it wasn't for a 4th and 9 completion at Auburn late in the game, and then add in the 8 other things that went their way late in that game, like Auburn running out of bounds on a second down that would have basically put the clock at 10 seconds. Either way, going way too deep into the details here, this isn't the best Alabama team. It's actually one of the worst Alabama teams we've seen in the last 10 years, which is insane because they have a Heisman Trophy winner playing quarterback. But this is a flawed Alabama team. This is the best Cincinnati team I will probably ever see in my life. So if there was a chance for an upset, the hope is that it's now, but it still is Alabama versus Cincinnati. And history doesn't really bode that well for small programs beating Nick Saban.
No, it also doesn't bode well for double-digit underdogs. In the playoff era, double-digit underdogs are 0-6 straight up, and they're 2-4 against the spread. So the favorites have done work in this spot. Another part UC is they play downhill. They like to play on the other side of the ball defensively. They are top 15 in tackles for losses on defense. So this is a team that it can be aggressive. It will be interesting. I wouldn't be overly aggressive because, as we saw with Georgia, when they went blitz heavy in that second half, it kind of bit them in the ass. Once again, the secondary is a little bit better, so you can leave guys on islands. I think that if Ridder plays to his full potential and this defense plays to their full potential, UC should hang in this game. The offensive line is also going to hold up their end. That's a concern point. But I think if those two things happen, this game is controllable. If Ridder has a first half like he's been having and is bad on third down, this game could get ugly quickly. Which is, if you want to bet UC, I think you're probably better off waiting to see if that number comes up. I have a feeling it's going to go to 14 because the public's going to come in heavy on Alabama. And then you could throw them in a teaser, make it a 3-score game. I like that a little bit better. It's a tough game. I'm going to wait to see what happens here, but I think we broke it down pretty good. And I do think UC has a shot. I've been a big UC guy all season, which is weird as a Xavier fan. I said it from literally preseason. They are making the playoffs because they didn't fumble and throw up all of themselves against Georgia last year. They've been there. They are well deserving. I don't want to hear people, if they get their asses kicked, like this is why they shouldn't be in. No, bullshit. They're fine. It's an interesting game. They just got to play. They got to play their game. And if they play their game and they play well and Ridder shows up, I think they're fine to make it competitive. If they don't, because Alabama's flawed, it could be a Drummond real quick.
It could be ugly. Yep.
All right. Second playoff game, the night game. Which, by the way, do you like it on New Year's Eve?
Hate it.
Same. Okay.
Hate it. The last thing I want to do at a New Year's Eve party is have to focus on football. Like I spend so much of my life focusing on football already. New Year's Eve is a night to not have the TV on for the most part. Like I just want to go talk to people instead. I don't know. Like, have you ever watched like a good sporting event on New Year's Eve? Like,
no.
It's always been horrible.
Yeah. In the one year they did the first year they did it on New Year's Eve, the ratings were terrible, and they sat
terrible.
Like, why were the ratings so bad? It's like because the vast majority of us that don't have a rooting interest, and before gambling got like way big, don't care. We have other things to do. Like and for us who do care, it's a grind to get through the season, to get through bowl season. If you're doing the NFL like I do, it's like I'm with you. I'm like I just want a night off. And meanwhile, I'm going to be going over to my buddy's house for the second game. And we're going to be sitting around to watch that second game until it either gets out of control or it's competitive until we start doing other things. Like I'm going to be glued to the TV, and I don't know. It
also sucks if you're at the game and it starts at 7:30 on the East Coast. It'll probably get delayed a little bit if the first game is still going on. So we're looking at like an 8 p.m. start. There's a realistic chance the ball drops while you're in the stadium, and maybe it's like late in the fourth quarter in a close game. Like that just sucks.
Yeah, it's terrible. If you put it the next day, people are hungover. They're on their couches, like they're ready to watch. They're eating. Like it's a better deal. Like to have it.
Yeah, growing up, January 1st was football heaven.
Yeah,
you had the Rose Bowl.
Perfect.
You had usually a Fiesta Bowl, Sugar Bowl at night. Like that's as good as it gets. And I would love for the playoff to always be January 1st.
Correct. And ever since I've been old enough to go out and drink, the next day sitting around hungover watching football has been phenomenal. Like that's
it's the
I
best.
Look forward to it. Yeah, it's the absolute best.
Yeah.
But whatever. All right, got delayed there. Let's talk Michigan, Georgia. The line's moved a little bit. It's at 7.5. It opened at 8.5. This game, it's funny because I was talking to a buddy and I said, if you had to pick, that's funny. The book's already offering a college football national championship line of Alabama versus Georgia right now. Interesting.
Okay. Tells you what Vegas thinks.
Yeah. I think this is the worst matchup for Michigan, but it could still be close because you are stylistically what Michigan wants to do offensively is going against an absolute monster in the Georgia run defense. The line's at 7.5. What are your opening thoughts going into this game? How do you feel? The matchups are interesting.
If you remember the last time I was on, I told you that Georgia was not winning the national title. And that was my hot take. Georgia is not as good as we think they are. And I am doubling down on that here. I think this is a near pick'em game. I think it's coming down to the end. I understand all the Georgia love, and they were great all season. But the other half of my hot take the last time I was on was that Ohio State was going to win the national title. I left that part out. I was shocked by what Michigan did to Ohio State. Shocked. I thought Ohio State was on its way to, like, I think when they won in 2014, whenever that was, 2015, they lost at home to Virginia Tech in week 2. I thought we were getting a repeat of that. Ohio State has 3 first-round caliber wide receivers, a future first-round Heisman Trophy winning quarterback. I was all in on Ohio State, and Michigan from start to finish demolished them. The score was a lot closer than it deserved to be. And I understand that Ohio State is built completely differently than Georgia. Like almost everywhere that Ohio State is strong, Georgia's weak, and vice versa. But I don't care. Like I watched a team that I thought was going to win the national title, and Ohio State get demolished by Michigan. I like this Michigan team. I think the line is a little too high. I was expecting it to be more around like the 6 range. So I like betting Michigan with the points. What's their money line? Like a 300-ish?
I'm looking at FanDuel right now for transparency. It's at plus 220. Now you might get better at other books, but at
Yeah,
FanDuel. That's what it
220
shows for right
seems
now.
low to me, but I don't know. I like the points. I think it's closer than people think it is, and a lot of my reasoning behind that is that I don't think Georgia's offense is that great,
That's fair.
and the game can stay close because of that. Now, will Michigan score 20 points? I don't know. Will they score 12 points? I don't know. They might not.
Yep.
Yeah, and I know that's the worry, but I'm also not confident in Georgia's offense to put up a ton of points too, because I liked what I saw out of Michigan's defense basically all season, minus like a wild fourth quarter against Michigan State where a lot of that wasn't exactly their fault. But I like Michigan's team overall. I think this is the best Harbaugh team that he's had. Like I said, a wild fourth quarter away from being 13-0 right now.
Yep.
I think this Michigan team's good. I also think Georgia is good, but I've told you before, my hot take basically the last month and a half has been Georgia's not winning national title. And I'm going to stick by that. Now, whether they lose here or to Cincinnati in the national title game, we will see. But I have Georgia losing at some point. So I'm going to say Michigan keeps it close.
That's fair. All right. Do we think, I mean, I guess that kind of answers my next question, but I would say, do you think Harbaugh can not trip all over himself? Because
there's always a question with Harbaugh, isn't it?
Yeah, like that's one of the many hangups I have, and I do like Michigan. Michigan has made me eat a lot of words this year because I have been very harsh on Michigan, and I haven't been a big believer in them. I think I've pretty fairly pointed out some of their holes that are still there and concerns I have, but they have overperformed in areas that I didn't think they were as good in certain areas that they are overly exceeding right now.
Going into the season, what did you have this Michigan team being?
Oh, I forget what I put their win total
like an 8-4.
Like I thought they were going to get smoked. I thought it was going to be the same team as every year because they didn't change too much stylistically. I know defense changed a little bit. They changed their scheme a little bit, which I did think was going to be a larger adjustment for them. But I didn't think I thought the fact that Cade can't really air it out, they were going to get smoked by Ohio State. They're probably going to lose to Wisconsin in a tough one, which is actually the game I'm going to lean on most for my analyst here or my analysis here. I thought that they were probably going to have a dog fight with Michigan State, but win that game, which I was wrong on. So yeah, I thought it was going to be a very stereotypical Michigan year. Like I thought, nothing was going to change really.
Yep. And I know, like, if you just go through, like, I'm just looking through some of Michigan's games down the stretch, and I know Iowa is not a great Iowa team, but 42-3, 42-3, that's something. It's similar to when Ohio State won the national title. They won 59-0 against a Wisconsin team, if you remember, in that Big Ten title game. I don't care who you're playing. If you win 42-3, that means something. I hate that Michigan was so close against Penn State because I think Penn State is absolutely awful.
Same. I think that I've said earlier in the season, I think James Franklin's situation at Penn State is a gas leak that nobody's smelling because it's not good. Like he's on
they're really bad.
Fifth coordinator in like 7 years on offense. Like it's just, I've been ragging on them all season, but I think the Penn State, I know their recruiting class next year is like out of this world, but like if you're a Penn State fan, I think there's a major gas leak that you just can't smell right now.
Yeah. And weirdly enough, he's still like one of the most coveted college coaches whenever a job comes up.
I don't get it. I mean, I mean, he's a great recruiter, but like he's gone through, I forget the number now. I can't think off the top of my head, but it's something like 5 OCs in like 7 years. Like anybody who's going through that many OCs and firing them, there's concern that they don't really understand what's going on. Like,
it's a difference if it's like the Saban thing where all of his assistants get hired somewhere else versus like they just get taken because they're going to go be a head coach somewhere else, whereas Penn State is letting guys go because of whatever underperformance.
He fired a guy in COVID, like his first year, the last OC's first year was in the COVID year, and he fired him after that year where you didn't have an off season, you barely had a preseason. Like you're changing the entire style.
Much,
yeah, and you fire him, like they play decent, and you just fire him right away. It's just the James Franklin thing. I sort of like him, but
I got us off track. I apologize, but point being, still Michigan. My original point being that Michigan did overperform way beyond what either you and I ever thought they would be.
Correct.
And I don't know. I kind of like a team that's hot at the right time of year.
I do too. I think there are some concerns. Like when I look at this game, the best game I think I can compare it to for trying to get a feel for this is when they played Wisconsin, because they have a very similar defense to what Georgia is going to present.
Yep.
And Michigan struggled to run the ball. They only averaged, I think, 2.6 yards per carry in that game. They ran it like 45 times. Now, granted, end of the year, the offensive line is playing much better for Michigan. That's a group that, I mean, you got to give a round of applause to. Like even if they get punched in the mouth, they punch right back.
The Ohio State game was like the best offensive line performance I had seen all season, and Michigan's offensive line has not been good.
Correct. It was fantastic. Now they are going against a defense that grades, 29% of runs on early downs against Georgia are graded successful. Like this is a defense. You're running right into the teeth of them, especially because Michigan likes to run inside. They're not a big outside run team. Like that's their bread and butter. So I have some concerns there, which puts it on Cade, which has been my biggest concern all season. Now, to Cade's credit, been phenomenal against the blitz. He's been great down the stretch. Hardball has kind of messed up his rhythm by putting in JJ at times, which has been unfortunate. But Cade's really he's the key here, because I don't think they're going to have much success running the ball. And you can't really adapt what Alabama did because you just don't have the talent outside. I heard a stat which was kind of staggering. Michigan wide receivers are only catching at a 35% rate against contested throws. Compare that to Georgia, who I would agree does not have a great wide receiving core. They're getting at 62%. Like it's
it's a massive difference.
Yeah. And so like that was kind of awe-striking, but Cade doesn't turn over the ball a ton. If you blitz him, which Georgia, Kirby sort of kind of panics a little and goes blitz heavy, which I don't dislike, but against Cade, he can torch you here. It's on Cade's shoulders. And I have legitimate concerns as to whether or not Cade can push the ball down the field and take advantage of the opportunities they're going to have, because I don't think they're going to have much success against running the ball. But then again, I could be proven wrong, and Michigan their offensive line could win those battles. But even if they're winning the battles, I think it's like at a 52% rate. Like they're not going to be, if they really dominate Georgia, like just crown them the national champion. Because like if that offensive line overperforms, I just have a hard time. That Georgia defensive line is so good. The concerns the secondary, you have to take advantage of there. And I don't know if Michigan, a team who runs on 61% of early downs, and they're going to continue to do that, has the ability. That's an interesting dynamic. The Michigan offense versus the Georgia defense is interesting for me. I do also think this is a game that if it snows ball, this game really, to me, I'm sort of like rambling right now, but this game to me is like an arms race. It's whoever gets up like by 2 scores first, I think kind of wins this game, because neither of these teams, same criticism I have for Michigan offensively, I could probably reverse and make the same thing for Georgia. I don't think Stetson Bennett and the Georgia offense are built to play from behind. Now they do have a little bit more talent. They're getting Pickens back pretty healthy. He's had more time to rehab. They're getting some guys on defense back who had a month to rehab. It's a little bit of a different story for Georgia, but I think both these teams, neither one is really built to play from behind. So it's really who can get up first or up early first, I think is going to win this game.
Yeah, I don't disagree with it at all. I think my major take, or the thing that I'm going to feel strong about, is that this isn't an obvious Georgia's going to smack them, in my opinion. And when you're given, 8.5 points or something like that?
7.5. It opened at 8.5.
7.5. I like taking a chance on the points. I don't think it's impossible for Michigan to win. I just feel like it's more likely that Michigan keeps it close than Georgia blows them out. Maybe I'm wrong, and the SEC is just going to demolish in both games. But I'm going to stick to it. It definitely is possible. It seems like Vegas is already ready for the Georgia-Alabama national title rematch of 5 years ago. But hey, if I'm wrong, I'll stand corrected. But I'm going to stick to what I told you a month and a half ago. I don't think Georgia is unbeatable. I think they're very beatable. Whether or not it's Michigan who beats them, I don't know. I think most likely scenario we're looking at is Alabama, Georgia. Alabama wins again. Like, just go off of what you've seen before. I've seen that happen so many times already. But I see this game similar to how I know it's September and it's 8 years ago, basically, but Georgia Clemson was a super tight game. It's a neutral field game. Clemson is run by their defense. that all came down to a pick six. Like Georgia's offense was atrocious in that game. I don't think it's impossible for this to be another 10-7, or that's super low, but like a 17-21 type of game. Super low scoring, good defense, like classic noon o'clock Big Ten football type of stuff. I can see that as being this type of game, which bodes in the favor of Michigan, in my opinion.
I don't disagree with that. The Michigan secondary too is very good, underrated in my opinion. I don't think they get enough credit for what they bring to the table in the Michigan secondary, which makes it tough. The other thing that I come back to with Georgia is Kirby, and I gave him a lot of crap with the SEC championship game, is a grade A, 100% loser mentality. And I know for whatever reason, he's got the defense recruited perfectly, but the offense seems to just be behind. And he needs to kind of do the Nick Saban approach where he goes heavy offensive recruiting. I heard rumors that that Arch Manning is considering Georgia pretty strongly right now. That'd be huge for him. But Kirby, for whatever reason, can't figure out the quarterback position. I don't know what's going on with JT Daniels. His arm might be held together by bubble gum and duct tape right now or something or whatever. And I get Stetson Bennett has played really well, but the classic example is that Alabama game. Stenson is playing okay, not great. You're behind. You need a guy with the higher ceiling. JT's on your bench. You might as well throw him in there and see, because he has the higher ceiling. He has the higher ceiling in performance. You had the same thing with Jake Fromm. I get Jake Fromm was playing great, but you had Justin Fields right.
Yeah, Justin Fields. No. He screwed that one up. No one saw it at the time, but he screwed it up.
Yeah, and Jake Fromm his freshman year played fantastic, so I get it's tough. But once again, it's one of those things where like Nick Saban is a killer mentality. He took out a guy who was beloved and had earned his opportunity to be the starting quarterback in Jalen Hurts, took him out of a game and put in Tua to win it. Kirby just doesn't have that in him right now. So that is the concern for me. Does he learn that lesson? Also, if you're a Georgia fan, I think I don't know what's going on with Latavius Bream, one of their corners who didn't play at all in that game. He generally handles slot receivers. Bama's torched them there. Yeah. I'm not sure if he's playing this week. I haven't really been able to find much, but you do get Chris Smith back a little bit healthier, hopefully. He's had 4 weeks to rehab, so that's another guy in your secondary. This is a very interesting game. I do think it can be very close, but I think I hold true because if Stenson's the guy, same thing with Cade. I don't know if I have a ton of confidence in Stetson Bennett to go out and win a game if playing from behind. I don't know if he has that in him. Now, if he's on a short leash and they're ready to put in JT and JT's healthy, that maybe changes the dynamic a little bit here. But I'm kind of with you that when it comes down to the points, I think you take Michigan. I think Georgia wins it. So putting either one of these teams in a teaser bet, I do kind of like.
Yeah, I was going to mention if you wanted to tease this with getting Cincinnati to plus 21.
Yep. That's
or 20, whatever it would be.
20 right now, but if it moves to 14, yeah, you're getting that. Or you're getting that at 20 if you put it at 6.5. Getting it at 20.5 if it goes to 14.
I don't hate it.
I don't either. That's kind of my move is what I'm thinking about doing here is Cincinnati teasing them with Georgia down or Michigan up. I think pick either one. And once again, it just comes down to who can get out first. I think at Georgia, Michigan.
I agree. Because both of these teams are built to play with the lead.
Correct. 100%. They're both built to run the ball, play with the lead, and play really good defense, which, like I said, matchup wise, obviously, I think you want UC if you're Michigan, because then they really bully them in the trenches. But like, it is tough because what Michigan wants to do, I don't think they're going to have a lot of success doing. So it's going to fall on Cade. It comes down to Cade, which I've been critical of. I just don't think he can make the throws. We're going to see. That's what it's going to come down to. All right.
I want to put you on the spot real quick.
Yeah.
Minus the playoff games, what's the bowl game you're most interested in?
Utah, Ohio State, because I'm a big Utah guy. I picked them preseason to win the Pac-12. I said for the listeners out there, if you think Wilson and oh my God, I'm blanking on his name.
The quarterback?
No, the other wide receiver for Ohio State.
Wilson and
Olave.
Olave.
Or whatever.
And the guy with 3 names.
Yeah. They're probably going to opt out, grab Utah at minus or plus 7.5. Wilson opts out. It's down to 4.5. That game I'm super interested in because I love the Utah program. They're playing for something bigger than themselves. They had 2 players die tragically this year. I love the program. I think it's one of the most underrated programs in college football. I think that's an awesome spot. It's the Rose Bowl. The Rose Bowl game is one of my all-time favorite games. It's like on my bucket list to go to at some point. I think that's the game I'm most interested in. We'll see with the opt-outs how that one goes. I like the Oklahoma Oregon game tonight. This is coming out tomorrow, so we'll see how that plays. But because Stoops is there, but yeah, I like that game. I think the most out of the remaining bowls right now. What about yourself?
Mine's the same. Maybe it's just because I'm from Ohio and my hatred for Ohio State runs very strongly through my body. But yeah, it's the same for me. Utah, Ohio State. I'm with you. Utah has been so fun to watch down the stretch. It's such a bummer that they started the season so poorly because in the last month of the season, they've looked as good as anyone, legitimately anyone in the country.
Yep.
They demolished Oregon twice.
Mm-hmm.
And fun fact, they have a former University of Cincinnati player as their running back, Tavion Thomas, I believe his name is. He had 5 or 6 combined touchdowns in both of the Oregon games. I love Oregon. And if Ohio State is down 2 of their top wide receivers, that is the strength of their team.
Yep.
The game is on the West Coast, obviously being the Rose Bowl. Utah fans are nuts.
Yep.
We won't go into the reasons why, but Utah fans are nuts, and I expect it to be. Yeah, you can put it together. I expect it to be a huge night for Utah football in general.
Correct.
A game that means a lot more to Utah's program than it does Ohio State's program.
Correct.
This is a consolation prize for Ohio State. This is the biggest game that I can really remember Utah being in the last 15 years.
Yeah,
something
they had
like that.
Alabama. I think
they played
Sugar
Alabama
Bowl,
in the Sugar Bowl.
Yeah, years ago.
What was that, like 12 years ago, 15 years, something like that?
Something like that.
It's been a long time.
It's been
either way,
very long time.
At least in the last decade, this is probably the biggest game for Utah. Riding a wave of playing incredible football down the stretch. I love Utah in this game. I love your pick of the 7.5 before the guys opt out. That is like, you could hedge right now and call it even and hope for a 3.5 to 7.5 win. But yeah, I think this is an awesome game. Baylor Ole Miss, I really like. Doesn't really Baylor as a program doesn't interest me much. I love Ole Miss being good. Like,
yes,
the SEC West is so fun already. Add in Lane Kiffin's attitude and Ole Miss being quote unquote back if they ever were there. I don't know, but like, I love Ole Miss being good. Their fans are going to be insane at this game.
And I don't think Matt Corral is officially opted out yet.
Is he going to play?
I don't know if I might.
No, I don't know either. I was hoping he's playing because if he's playing, this becomes must watch for me.
Oh no, he's out. He is out. Never mind. I looked it up.
So all right, so there you go. My intrigue there is already lowered. This is such a weird bowl thing we live in now. You play in the Sugar Bowl and you opt out. Can you imagine that 10 years ago?
Hold up. I misread that. I don't think he has. Yeah, no, he has not.
Okay. I was like, I don't
click that says opting out was never an option for Matt Corral.
There you go. Ole Miss's Matt Corral will play in the Sugar Bowl. That's what I thought. I was like, I don't remember hearing that he had been out.
Yeah, I just misread the headline.
No, you're good. I like watching Ole Miss play. I love watching teams that are just, let's put up 50 points.
Yep. And their color scheme's awesome.
The new light blues are incredible. Yeah. The light blues are incredible. Everyone knows the light blues are incredible. On Saturday, on Saturday, we also get Notre Dame, Oklahoma State, which I think is a decent game. I don't really care for either program. I think both of those teams are kind of boring to watch. Maybe I'm being mean, but
no, I think that's fair.
They're not the most exciting teams to watch, but Fiesta Bowl, 2 teams that I think will care about the game. I'm going to watch, especially Notre Dame with the new coach, and Oklahoma State, similar to Utah. This is a pretty big game for Oklahoma State's program. They haven't played in many New Year's Six type of bowls.
No, yeah, I'm with you. Or Oklahoma State, used to be an interesting team. Now they're all defense, but I'm with you. See what Marcus Freeman brings to the table. Kyle Whittingham at Utah is one of the most underrated coaches in the country. One of the
He's
best
awesome.
environments. I love Kyle
Yep.
Whittingham.
Don't bet against Utah at home at night. It is.
No. Yeah.
I don't know what they are against the spread at home at night,
It's
but
incredible.
I'll take it. It's got to be like Tom Brady peak where he was like 70% against the spread for like the first 15 years of his career. That's Utah at home at night. They don't lose.
I forget. I brought it up on the podcast where they were playing Oregon at home because I had put a future bet out on Utah to win the Pac-12 before the season started, and I said like if it comes down to Utah at Oregon or at Utah, it's over. It's over because like it's an insane environment. They added more seats to it and they renovated the stadium to make it louder. It's a top 5 environment in college football as far as home.
And that game was over 10 minutes in.
Oh yeah, it was so quick.
It was so quick.
It was awesome.
I like Utah. That's gonna be a fun game, even with Ohio State missing some of their best players. I'm sure they have some backups. Like Alabama fans will be quick to tell you, Ohio State has some backup wide receivers ready to go.
Yeah, that they do. The depth is there. Trey Henderson will play, who's going to be one of the best running backs in the country here. I mean, he's already one of the better running backs in the country. That kid's a stud. Freshman at Ohio State. So that'll be an interesting game. See what Stroud brings to the table, what that team looks like. I'm with you. Not to put you on the spot. I know we probably need to wrap this up. It's getting a little longer, but we're going to switch gears to the NFL real quick. Are you happy or upset that Zach Taylor is going to be your quarterback your coach next year? Because at this point, I don't think he's getting fired. And I have not been the biggest Zach Taylor fan. I know you're in a similar-ish boat. I'm a big component of the talent has been overshining his kind of incompetencies and blandish offense because you have Joe Burrow and just an oozement of talent at wide receiver. But given Joe Burrow just put up 500 yards against the Ravens, and I have you on, I feel like I would ask the question in the NFL, where are you at with your Cincinnati Bengals?
I mean, when you put up 525 yards on a team passing, like I can't complain too much. This was the first game where Zach really just said, Joe, go beat them.
Yep.
The Ravens secondary, as everyone knows, is a practice squad, basically.
Yeah.
It really is. It's sad. It's sad.
I'm
never going to feel bad about beating the Ravens ever. I never, ever will. And Ravens fans are like mad that we were still playing at the end of the game, which is hilarious because John Harbaugh wanted to keep that rushing record alive. And instead of kneeling the ball against the Broncos, ran it on 4th and 9. I mean, there's a lot to go on there. But yeah, when you put up 525 yards passing, you're not going to hear me complain that week. Long-sided, or that's very short-sighted view. The longer view of it, Zach Taylor during Joe Burrow's rookie contract window scares me because this is the best window you can ask for as a franchise. You have arguably like 4 of your top 5 players, including your franchise quarterback, are all going to be on rookie deals with Chase, Burrow, Higgins, Jesse Bates, who they're going to have to pay now, and then Hendrickson at defensive end is paid. But that's 3 of your 5 guys for the next 3 years are going to be on rookie deals. That's unheard of in the NFL.
Yep.
That comes around literally once in a lifetime. The Bills are kind of going through that right now, but they've had to pay some guys, and you've seen they haven't been as good because of it. The Bengals are set up. This is their one chance. I hope they put all chips in. I'm a little worried that Zach Taylor's gonna be the guy during the entire window, most likely.
I am too, because I want them to be. I'm based in Cincinnati for those of you who do not know yet, but I want them to be good. Like I'm a Bucs fan, but I want the Bengals to be good, and they invest in that offensive line. They got a real shot, but like my perfect, and I know we had talked about it over Twitter at one point, but like perfect example of why Zach Taylor scares the shit out of me for this team. Overtime game. You took the ball out of your best player's hand, Joe Burrow, who had been playing fantastic. I think PFF graded him out as number 1 quarterback that week. You took the ball completely out of his hands and you played for a field goal. Like that type of mentality, like perfectly sums up my fear of Zach Taylor. Now, granted, he's young. I don't think he should have ever been hired as head coach. He had a cup of coffee with Sean McVay, and the Bengals were
Correct.
like, hire you during the McVay craziness of hiring all his assistants. You know, there are things to learn. Maybe he'll learn and be better than what we think. But like, that's like that. If you had to bottle down the Zach Taylor experience, that game perfectly summed it up, where you had Joe Burrow, who was playing great the entire game. You get to overtime, you're trying to win the game, and you take the ball out of his hands and you neuter him. And like, that to me was just like, this guy's got to go. It's just example 1000, but it like perfectly sums it up.
It's it's worrisome. What I do like about Taylor, specifically that example, in the post-game presser, take this for what you will, like whether or not this stuff matters, none of us know. Bill Belichick has never said anything worthwhile in a press conference, and he's the best coach of all time. But Taylor did say, like, I lost sleep over taking the ball out of Joe Burrow's hands. Like, I messed that up. That one's on me. I like that shit, especially given I went through the Marvin Lewis era when it was all about, hey, we just weren't good enough today. Yeah. We weren't good enough today. And that came out through the players too. Like, I can remember specific examples when Andy Dalton against the Chargers, which if you want to go have a fun YouTube clip, go watch those highlights. Andy Dalton Chargers 2015 playoff game. I remember times when Andy Dalton would be like, we just weren't good enough today, when it was obvious that Andy Dalton wasn't good enough today. Like, take it upon yourself. So you hear Joe Burrow in the press conference say, hey, I wasn't good enough today. That's part of the reason why we lost. Like, you aren't hearing negative things about any of the players. All the players that spoke negative about Zach Taylor got out of there. That's like the Carlos Dunlap of the world. They let walk, and he was good for Seattle that year. But, I mean, the culture has completely shifted. It's a completely different feel for the organization. There's some game management stuff, obviously, that I'm not crazy about with Zach Taylor. I think he's way too heavy on first down runs as well.
Yes.
But overall, given what the last 5 years have been, this is fun. This is good. I'm going to enjoy it while it lasts. And if in 2 months from now, Zach Taylor has a playoff win under his belt, I can tell you right now, he's going nowhere. That's what the sense it. Like, I want to win a Super Bowl. I want to win a playoff game. Never seen one in my life. That's what I'm ready for. And this team is capable of doing.
Absolutely.
So we'll see. My opinion on Taylor is not the highest, but I think it would be insane it's just not going to happen. They're not going to fire a guy that's 9-6. Right. So it's my guy. I'm going to support him. And if he lets Joe Burrow cook, I will not complain.
There you go. I like it. All righty. Anything else before we wrap this up?
Just want Xavier basketball back. That's it. I think you're in the same boat as me.
So do I. That team, for those of you out there who are sleeping, as long as things stay well and we don't get derailed here with COVID, that's a sleeping threat in the Big East, to say the least. I mean, people were mad about
Nate Johnson. If Nate Johnson, Adam Kunkel hit threes, that team can be as good as any Xavier team, maybe ever. Top 3-ish type of Xavier team.
They got the potential.
Those two guys have to hit shots.
Correct. Yep. And Steele's got to, coach a little bit better, which there are signs of improvement on that front.
Agreed.
And people are getting on him for the Villanova game. It's like one team has won at Villanova since they joined, since the Big East realignment.
No.
Let's chill out. Like, we played competitive. Were there mistakes, coaching mistakes, and lineups? Yeah, absolutely. But that was a hell of a competitive game. We played
Travis
well.
Travis Steele didn't shoot 0 for 15 in the second half from 3. I mean,
and turn over the ball in nightmare situations.
Realistically, I was kind of happy after the Villanova game. Like, we went in, showed ourselves that we can play with this team.
Correct.
But we're not good enough yet. We still need to work.
Correct. It's early in the season.
It's early in the season. Don't freak out after losing to Nova ever, especially at Nova on campus.
Yeah, they've lost once, I think, since the realignment.
Once, Trivia for you: I think it was Butler is the only team that has won on campus. But don't get too discouraged. I like this Xavier team way more than I did at the start of the season.
Yep, they're running form.
Yeah, and a lot of that's because Nunji is a legitimate big man powerhouse and can get buckets when the offense is dead.
Correct. Yep. 100% agree with that take. It's also the other thing for Xavier fans and Big East fans and college basketball fans. one of the best benefits of the Big East is everybody plays each other twice. We're going to see Villanova again. Iron sharpens iron. Like, I'm a big believer in that, especially in basketball. It's all about reps. Getting reps against really quality, good teams is only going to be bigger. So if you're a college basketball fan, this is a year that, once again, I think as long as everything doesn't get derailed with Team Xavier and the Big East as a whole, come tournament time, Big East teams are going to be dangerous this year. I think the Big East is
Agreed.
fully back to its kind of like mantle of like, oh yeah, this is a damn good basketball conference. Everybody's a threat on every given night.
Yep. Agreed completely. I just want to watch it.
Nice.
Let's
all right.
get it back.
Same. We need a little flex scheduling here, guys. Let's get with the times. All right.
Exactly.
We got teams sitting on their hands that could be playing basketball this weekend. Let's have a little creativity here.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a ridiculous joke, but whatever. All right, that does it for us today. Thank you for coming on again. It was a good one.
Of course.
I will have you back on. Everybody, make sure you're checking in to the playoff games. We got some more stuff coming. We'll see what happens this week. Should be a fun one.
Yep. Looking forward.
Nice. All righty. As
All right,
always.
I think the internet went dead at the end.
I was gonna say it went completely dead, but as always, everybody, peace.